Hey guys, it's Chris, and I'm back with another Star Wars video, and this time talking about The Mandalorian. With The Mandalorian starting actually next week, I figured I would do a little video on the history of the Mandalorians and how they fit into the Star Wars universe. For anybody that's not a hardcore Star Wars fan, but wants to enjoy this show, I think it'll help to get a little bit of backstory, at least some basic history on who the Mandalorians are and how they fit into the universe, and what we could potentially see or be referenced at least during The Mandalorian, which starts again next week on Disney+. So let's jump right in and talk about who were the Mandalorians. All right, so let's talk about the history of the Mandalorians just a little bit in a nutshell. But first, let me thank my newest Patreons. Thank you so much to Haley. Thank you so much to John Walker for the upgrade. Thank you to Mike Marchito. Thank you to Monica. And thank you to Paige Roberts. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the support. Every dollar right now helps on Patreon as we try to figure out this new YouTube algorithm. So again, thank you guys so much on Patreon. You guys keep this channel going. So anyway, who are the Mandalorians? With only a few minutes of screen time in the original trilogy, the bounty hunter Boba Fett gave rise to the creation of an entire planet and a civilization called the Mandalorians that reside on a duly named planet called Mandalore, located in the Outer Rim, which also has an inhabited moon called Concordia. In the expanded universe now called Legends, the Empire actually mined the planet for its beskar, a lightsaber-resistant iron. So it will be interesting to see if they tie something like that into the show The Mandalorian, in case he comes across anybody wielding a lightsaber, which I think he probably will. Anyway, originally Boba Fett and his iconic armor were intended to be soldiers described as super commandos from the Mandalore system, armed with weapons built into white suits and known for battling the Jedi. Initially, the soldiers were called Super Troopers. But the Mandalorians themselves debuted in Marvel Comics and Star Wars in 1983, which described Boba Fett and the Super Commandos as the official protectors of the planet Mandalore. We then learned in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, that he is actually a clone of Jango Fett, who he raised as his own son. But, with all that said, beyond some initial books and comics in the expanded universe, Boba Fett is actually not Mandalorian himself. Jango Fett simply acquired some Mandalorian armor, which helped him as a bounty hunter. As for the new series, The Mandalorian, it will be set after the fall of the Empire, but before the rise of the First Order, which we saw first in The Force Awakens, with this show's story focusing on one lone Mandalorian known as the Gunfighter. Now, the Gunfighter is played by Pedro Pascal, Oberyn the Red Viper from Game of Thrones fame, who will apparently be an actual Mandalorian. So I do expect them to kind of go into some Mandalorian lore and reference some of these things in history. So, who were the actual Mandalorians? In short, the Mandalorian people in the expanded universe, at least, are a warrior people who often work as mercenaries and bounty hunters. Although the TV series The Clone Wars kind of reintroduced them to the franchise as the new Mandalorians, who were essentially pacifists who wished to distance themselves from Mandalore's warrior traditions. Some Mandalorians, of course, resisted this, creating other factions of Mandalorians. In the expanded universe, or now again called Legends, during the Old Republic era, the Mandalorians are a military group who side with the Sith in their war against the Jedi, and of course their leader is manipulated by the Sith into triggering a war with the Republic. This gets the Republic to send a powerful Jedi named Revan and his companion Malak, who helped defeat them, and Revan himself tries to ensure a new leader called the Mandalore couldn't rise from the remaining Mandalorian clans. So for the most part, the Mandalorian clans then dissolved into the familiar culture of wandering mercenaries for hire. Although later a Mandalorian named Canderous Ordo assumes the title of Mandalore with the help of Revan himself and reunites the warrior clans. So throughout Star Wars history, there were many factions and clans of Mandalorians, including a prominent group that you may have heard of called Death Watch. Now, Death Watch was initially led by a Mandalorian called Tor Vizsla, featured in comics and the Clone Wars animated series. The leader would carry the lightsaber-like sword called the Dark Saber, originally created by the first Mandalorian to join the Jedi Order. House Vizsla stole the Dark Saber from the Jedi during the fall of the Old Republic during that era. Dark Saber was then passed down generation to generation by the ancestors of House Vizsla, and of course if you did watch the Clone Wars animated series, which is also coming back to Disney Plus as well, at some point a famous Sith Lord named Darth Maul, who is certainly a fan favorite, who had survived his injuries at the hands of Obi-Wan Kenobi, would kill its current owner Pre Vizsla and become the leader of Death Watch. So that's basically the short version of some of their history, the history in a nutshell, the Cliff Notes version, if you will, of the Mandalorians, being this warrior race of people, and perhaps give us some ideas and insight as to what we can expect from the Mandalorian. Although again, it may just focus on one singular Mandalorian, the gunfighter alone, there will be likely many references to some of this history, and remember now Disney can pull from any of this history as far as legends or non-canon stuff and bring it back into Star Wars lore. Anyway, guys, that's all I have for today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as usual, thank you for all the support, especially to you guys on Patreon. And a huge shout out to my executive Patreon SmokeScreen producers. And please, if you dig what I do here, please give these videos a like, comment, and a share. And we will be covering The Mandalorian when it starts next week on a weekly basis, as well as The Witcher coming up in December. And then, of course, covering other shows as well until we finally get to House of the Dragon, the new Game of Thrones prequel based off the book Fire and Blood. So, with all that said, be sure to subscribe to get everything and click that notification bell twice so you're notified when I drop a new video. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.